On a stormy night, a man rushed into the city hospital carrying his little daughter in his arms. She was unconscious, her breathing shallow, and her life fading away with every passing second. He begged for a doctor, but the receptionist only shook her head. There were no specialists available. Just when hope seemed lost, an old janitor cleaning the hallway stepped forward. No one knew his name. No one had ever paid attention to him. But that night, help came in a disguise no one expected. And what happened next left the entire hospital in shock. The man's name was Daniel, a single father who had worked double shifts all week to provide for his daughter, Emily. That evening, Emily had suddenly collapsed after dinner. Daniel's world turned upside down as he rushed her through the pouring rain to the nearest hospital. Every second felt like an eternity. Inside the hospital, the emergency ward was crowded. Nurses moved back and forth, doctors rushed past, but none of them seemed available to help immediately. Daniel shouted for assistance, his voice breaking with desperation. He explained that Emily had a rare breathing condition, one that could be fatal without immediate medical care. The receptionist shook her head helplessly. "I am sorry, sir. Our specialist is out of town and the other doctors are already in surgery." Daniel felt his knees weaken. He looked down at Emily's pale face, her tiny hand still clutching his shirt. Tears blurred his vision. He whispered to her, "Hold on, sweetheart. Please hold on." Then, almost silently, a voice came from the corner. It was the hospital janitor, an elderly man with kind but tired eyes. He slowly put down his mop and walked closer. "I might be able to help," he said softly. Daniel stared at him in disbelief. How could a janitor possibly save his daughter? But something in the man's voice carried calmness, a quiet strength that Daniel could not ignore. The janitor introduced himself as Mr. Harris. He explained that years ago, before retiring, he had been a pediatric specialist. But after losing his own family in a tragic accident, he had stepped away from the medical field entirely. He could not face the memories anymore, so he took a quiet job in the same hospital as a janitor, staying close to the place that once defined his life. Daniel hesitated. Could he really trust a man who had been sweeping floors to treat his critically ill daughter? The fear in his heart clashed with the desperation in his mind. He had no other choice. Time was slipping away. Mr. Harris quickly asked for specific equipment and instructed the nearby nurses with the precision of someone who had once lived in operating rooms. His hands did not tremble. His voice was firm, filled with experience. Within minutes, he performed an emergency procedure to open Emily's airways. Daniel watched in awe, praying silently with every second. Emily coughed, her chest rising more steadily. A faint color returned to her cheeks. Daniel could not believe what he was seeing. Around them, the hospital staff had gathered, shocked that the man they had always seen pushing cleaning carts had just saved a child's life. For the first time in years, Mr. Harris looked at his hands and smiled faintly. That night, the world reminded him who he truly was. Not just a janitor, but a healer. Emily was stabilized, but she still needed careful monitoring. Daniel sat beside her bed holding her tiny hand, tears flowing down his cheeks. He turned to Mr. Harris. You saved her. I do not even know how to thank you." Mr. Harris shook his head. "No need to thank me. Tonight your daughter saved me." Daniel frowned, confused. Harris explained how he had abandoned medicine after his own daughter's tragic passing. He carried guilt for years, believing he had failed as both a father and a doctor. Cleaning floors was his way of punishing himself, staying invisible to the world. "But when I saw your little girl," Harris said, his voice trembling, "I felt my own daughter's eyes looking at me again. For the first time, I realized that running away from who I was never healed me. It only buried me deeper. Your daughter gave me a reason to remember my purpose." Daniel reached out and clasped Harris's hands tightly. "Then maybe it was never a coincidence. Maybe you were meant to be here tonight." The hospital staff, who had watched everything unfold, felt a silence settle over them. They realized they had misjudged a man they had walked past every single day. The disguise of a janitor had hidden the heart of a doctor, and the miracle he carried inside. The next morning, Emily was awake, smiling weakly at her father. Daniel told her about the man who had saved her. Emily, in her innocent voice, whispered, "Thank you, doctor." Mr. Harris's eyes welled up. He had not heard that word directed at him in years. In that moment, the walls he had built around his heart began to fall. News spread across the hospital. Administrators approached Harris, urging him to return to medicine, even if part-time. At first, he resisted, but Daniel reminded him, "You saved one life last night. Imagine how many more are waiting for you." For the first time in years, Mr. Harris felt hope. The disguise of a janitor had hidden his true self, but that night, fate revealed him again. Daniel, holding Emily in his arms, realized something profound. Sometimes the greatest help comes from the most unexpected places. We often overlook the quiet souls around us, not knowing the miracles they may carry. As they left the hospital, Daniel turned back one last time. Mr. Harris stood by the doorway, mop in hand, but his eyes were different now, alive with purpose. And so, the story of a father, a daughter, and a janitor who was once a doctor became a reminder for everyone who heard it. Never judge by appearances, and never forget that help often comes in disguise.